Hi, morning again, everyone. I'd like to kick off, actually, if we can, just with a short video. If we have that ready, hopefully. Okay. It's pretty dramatic stuff, that, I think, some of it. So I guess what we're saying there is it's a pretty connected world we're living in, and for most of us, it's now a pretty connected life that we lead. This morning, I want to talk a little bit about what we think that might mean for learning, and to kick off, really just like to start thinking about what it might mean. So let's imagine that the moment you think of a question, the moment you think of who might be able to help you with that question, that you can reach for the answer from wherever you are. That sounds like a really simple idea, but yet it's not what most of us experience today. Sometimes we think of something, or we see something, and ponder a question, and maybe we write that down. Often we don't. Imagine that as our creative minds wander, as we walk down the street, as we walk up the escalator, as we sit on the bus, that we're able to respond to those thoughts and questions in our mind, to act on them. How much more might we learn if we could pursue our ideas in the moment that they burst into life in our heads? Well, today, that's actually what millions of people already do. They act on something, not because they're in a blind panic, but simply because the opportunity is in the palm of their hand. The internet's in the palm of their hand, and it's on their mobile. Your natural curiosity is always sparking ideas. The internet is always with you to help you to find out more. It brings the opportunity for learning to satisfy a hunger wherever and whenever in a way that's never been possible before. So this morning I'm going to talk a little bit about how we've come to understand how people use mobile internet services and what new opportunities this behavior might open up for learning. How the mobile phone has evolved from a simple but powerful device for talking, for texting, into the ultimate communications tool, capable of everything from talk and text to blogging and social networking on the go. And how the laptop computer is not just portable, but of course now it's connected, and it's connected wherever you might choose to take it. Back in 2005, T-Mobile launched a service called Web and Walk for phones. It was the first internet service to move away from the old WAP, teletext-style mobile internet browsers to open up the whole internet to the smallest screen. We pioneered fixing the cost of this internet service, taking away the confusing kilobyte pricing of the past, and introducing a simple daily and monthly rate. What's great is that our competitors have followed that, and what we're seeing now is an explosion that's resulted in pushing the mobile internet finally into the mainstream. In 2006, we introduced the first mobile broadband service for the mass market, again with fixed cost pricing and getting rid of some of the horrible charges. A mobile broadband's brought fast internet to laptops on the move wherever there's a mobile network. no longer tying us to Wi-Fi hotspots and so on. And the speeds have rapidly increased from 1 meg to 4 meg to 8 and beyond shortly, meaning we can use the internet in more interesting ways, using video clips and TV programs on the go. So suddenly, broadband on the go isn't just a complicated product for the very privileged corporate customer. With easy-to-understand USB modems, a laptop can be connected on the move in seconds. So this rapid rollout of new services mean that we now have 3 years of experience understanding what people do with their mobiles and their laptops on the move. 3 years probably doesn't sound very much, but it's enough to see how this brand new technology is beginning to take hold with people. As the presentation you've just seen showed, it's only 10 years, quite incredible I think, to think that only 10 years since mobile phones and text messaging really reached the average person on the street. And we can see, obviously, how those have already changed our lives quite dramatically, the way we organize our lives, our social lives, the way we relate to our families. And some of the trends in how people use these services are quite eye-opening. Over 2.5 million T-Mobile customers in the UK are now active users of our mobile internet services in any given month. We know where people are accessing the web. Number one, perhaps unsurprisingly, is the office and the college or the school. Second is public transport. Again, maybe no surprise. Perhaps more surprisingly, the third most popular place that people use the internet on their phones is in front of the TV, which just shows you how powerful it is to literally have the whole world, the whole internet at your fingertips. You might also be interested to know that 15% of our users even admit to using the mobile internet in the bathroom. Some of the most popular websites on the move are quite familiar. It's Facebook, it's Google, it's Hotmail, Bebo, YouTube, the BBC, MSN, Yahoo, MySpace, all the sites that you'd expect. And perhaps what's surprising here is that they are so similar to what we use on the PC internet. And I think that's an important point because what it means is that people are using the internet on their mobiles now in just the same way that they would at home or in the office or at school. It's gone from being a limited version of the web that's just used for football scores and train times to suddenly offering the entire world of the internet in your pocket. It also means that the long tail principle applies that was mentioned earlier. The kind of searches that we're seeing, the kind of things people are looking for that are stimulating people are as diverse as the people using it. So when we look at how the mobile internet is actually changing our lives, we can see 3 major trends emerging. I'm going to explain a little bit about what we see happening and then hopefully relate it to more closely to learning. So in the broader context, what do we see going on? First, we're no longer tied to physical places or connections, as has already been mentioned. Google talk a lot about this idea of the cloud, the idea that all our digital stuff, whether it's emails, documents, presentations, photos, videos, it goes on, can be held virtually somewhere on the internet. That means we don't need to be in a specific place. We don't need to be in the office or school necessarily to access our digital libraries of information or to access the organization network that we belong to. We can be anywhere and access it all. And the space, obviously, for virtual storage available is almost limitless. The second trend we see is the social web. The internet was once a pretty passive, sit-back, lazy surfing medium. We surfed, we researched, maybe we bought the odd book. But now it's active. Increasingly, we interact, we blog, we write status updates on social networks, we collaborate online, we post up videos, we download photos. Because we can interact and share, the internet has become a social medium, not a lonely pastime. And by the way, I'm not just describing myself here, or the people who work in my industry, or the techie enthusiasts. As I mentioned earlier, our research shows that for the under 25s, this is just a normal part of life. There's no obvious boundary between on and offline. So while my grandparents might bemoan the fact that people don't write letters anymore, we should be open to this technology because it's just a seamless mix between different ways of communicating. The third trend we see is the truly global mobile web. The first internet revolution, which seems so familiar to us all now, was driven by the West and by the developed world, and we've all benefited so much from it. But in the developing world, they're leaping straight to the mobile web, not even stopping to lay a national grid of cables. Why would you? So the sheer scale of mobile penetration versus the number of landlines in the world means that the potential of the mobile web to drive innovation for all of us is massive. So that's what's happening in the web. That's the way we see it. What might that mean for learning? Well, all of you in this room are no doubt better qualified than I am to really understand how that's going to change the kind of environments that you work in. However, we can offer some insights based on what we've seen so far from some of the organizations that we work with. So let's think of this as reach learning. What does that cloud really mean? It means that a school or college can exist virtually as well as physically. You can obviously reach it from anywhere. At my school, I can remember being told that the school was the community of people. It wasn't just about a building. But technology really makes this possible in a new way today. Everyone who's part of an education community can access all it has to offer from wherever they are. An individual can access notes to download, as we've already talked about. A whole class can log into a college network from the other side of the country, or indeed the other side of the world. Suddenly you can reach the resources you need from wherever you want to be. So what about that social web? Well, that means you can reach each other to connect, student to student, tutor to student, one-to-one or one-to-many, sharing progress, ideas, photos, and so on. Everyone can collaborate, even when they're not together, sharing documents, editing them online, and saving some time, making more connections, providing more opportunities perhaps for those less comfortable expressing themselves face-to-face. So how does that idea of reach learning apply to the idea of a global mobile internet? It's something of a cliche to talk about the knowledge economy, but that's what we must all be prepared for with the right skills. The UK is a leader in web design, in competitive internet communications and mobile industries. And the leap to mobile internet in fast developing nations like India and China provides an opportunity for us to exploit those skills further. But only if the next generation is really ready for it. We can use the emerging global web to enable students in the UK to reach people anywhere in the world, to learn with them and to learn from them. So what's T-Mobile's experience been of some of these trends in what we've called reach learning? At Stockport College, T-Mobile MDA mobiles have put hairdressers at the, forgive this, cutting edge of mobile technology. Students at the college are frequently away from the campus on placements. The college team wanted to capitalise on students' interest in mobile and improve communications between students, between their peers and their lecturers when they couldn't actually be physically together. T-Mobile provided a mobile device that included a slide-out keyboard and fast internet access. The MDA Vario 3 also includes a 3-megapixel camera, so that students could capture photos and videos of their placements. We made sure that the internet service had private access to the college network. And as part of that partnership, we worked with the University of Manchester research team to develop a way to shrink the college web portal for the smaller screen. What was the experience? Well, the result was much faster feedback between students and tutors when the students were away on their placements. As students could blog a record of their experience, tutors were better able to monitor the progress, the learning challenges, the feelings of students as they progressed. This more frequent, flexible communication also resulted in better relationships between the tutors and their students. They were able to feel closer in touch, despite being further apart. In a similar example, we worked with 5 higher education institutions in the north under the umbrella of assessment and learning in practice settings. In the scheme, students taking part in placements for health and social care work also needed to be connected to their universities in Yorkshire. Again, T-Mobile PDA phones were supplied with fast internet access, enabling placement assessments to be easily completed online. Live blogs and uploading video clips from the phones were used to build a real-time portfolio of the students' work. Again, sharing learning progress led to faster feedback, better records, and better learning relationships within the university community. A recently reported programme at South Thames College in London took this online capability a stage further. Again, using smartphones with fast internet and multimedia capabilities, students worked across several schools on a knife crime project. This really brings to life the idea of the web as a tool for social collaboration, social learning. Students created digital sketchbooks together, sharing their ideas through live media, capturing the media on their phones. And this successful project culminated in a presentation to the Mayor at London City Hall. T-Mobile has also been working with Bristol City Learning Centre. As part of the government's Computers for School project, 540 mobile broadband-enabled T-Mobile AMIOs were selected for secondary school pupils across Bristol. Initially, there were challenges in persuading everyone that these A5-sized mini laptop computers were really valuable education tools and not just a distraction in the classroom. We applied our content-locked child protection to ensure safe use of the internet on the devices and to make sure trust had been built between teachers, parents and students. The fixed price tariffs offered on all the T-Mobile internet services also provided reassurance that costs weren't going to be out of control. The program has released the potential of learning beyond the textbook and encouraged creative expression using the camera and multimedia capabilities. Teachers describe the opportunity for timely and relevant learning, pupils able to go on a field trip, for example, with the ultimate internet research tool in their bag. ICT advisor Nick Pearl-Dent described one use of the mobile technology to create an efficient, focused lesson. When a teacher was conducting a science lesson on Hooke's law, he installed a basic graph onto the pupil's T-Mobile Amio, and they filled in the results. This focused the lesson entirely on the outcome of the experiment and the principles behind it, which was exactly what the teacher was aiming to do. Finally, earlier I mentioned the mobile knowledge economy and how we prepare young people for it. At T-Mobile, we recently announced the launch of the G1 with Google, the phone I have here, the first mobile to be built around an open source system called Android. It's a phone created by T-Mobile and Google and built for the internet, for the way we seamlessly move between simple talk and text to online conversations with instant messaging and social networking. I've been privileged to be part of that project team, and what we're really excited about is the potential of the Android market. It's an open marketplace for software applications on the phone. Examples of applications that are already live include Wikimobile, a richer, more mobile version of the Wikipedia we're familiar with, and Seismograph, an application able to monitor movement around the phone. It's too early to know what any of these things are going to be used for, but the potential is massive. Those applications are being developed all over the world, and these are exactly the kind of skills that will be required to compete in the mobile knowledge economy. It will make demands on training in information technologies, art and design, business numeracy, and creative thinking. Exactly the kind of skills that our education system and economy has already been successfully building. I guess I'd just like to close with a thought about where things might be heading and what the experience might be like in a few years' time. The reach of learning is farther than ever before, and it's never been easier to satisfy a hunger for sharing knowledge. So imagine in just a few years' time you're driving through the Kruger National Park in South Africa. You spot an animal you don't recognize. You whip out your mobile and you press the auto zoom. It clicks. Of course, you take a fantastic picture. But in the bottom right hand corner of the image, suddenly the name of the animal appears and the option is given to click for more information. You click to learn more and your curiosity can suddenly wander across the web. A message pops up to invite you to send your photo and your web page that you're looking at back to a friend at home or to your social networking blog. You send it to your Facebook site and it's automatically tagged with your location. Suddenly you see an alert. One of your friends has seen your picture and wants to chat on instant messaging. As you relax in the evening, your Wikipedia account has sent you a video of the animal you saw today up close and you're excited to learn more. You can even see a 3D version of the landscape that's right around you in your bush camp right now. This kind of instant learning about the world around us with easy sharing is only a few years away, or perhaps less. Already teams are furiously developing image and object recognition search engines all over the world to do exactly what I've just described. And what's exciting for us is that in the organizations we work with, people are always surprised at what a difference these new mobile technologies can make to relationships. When we can share knowledge and skills almost anywhere, at any time, through so many different media, we create an exciting collaboration that makes the learning process fast, creative, and efficient. At T-Mobile, we're proud to share our technology with our education partners, and we're proud to bring together curious minds. Thank you very much. Over to you. Questions, please.
You said that teachers are very pleased to have set charges for mobile access for learning.
Yep.
Can you tell us what those charges are, whether they were on a pilot basis or whether they are an ongoing basis, and whether you're actually planning on having any contractual conditions with those charges?
I can't give the charges for that specific case purely because I don't have them right here, but I can tell you in general how our pricing works. Whether it's in the education sector or whether it's for our customers, all our services are genuinely fixed cost. So whatever you pay for a monthly period is unlimited data. There are no run-on rates as part of that. We obviously have varying rates for different customer groups. We have fair use policies attached to that, but they're deliberately very, very large. And as I say, what we don't do is attach charges at the end of that process. Even if you were to go over those massive fair use amounts, all we do is contact you or contact the individual and ask them to adjust their usage. I'm not sure if that answers fully the whole point. Sorry, I can't. Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, sure.
Ballpark figure per user?
Sure, sorry. So I'll give you the consumer pricing to give you an indication, but obviously it wouldn't necessarily be exactly the same. It depends on the situation. So the consumer pricing we now have for our mobile broadband service, so that's the USB dongles that go into laptops, would now be, it's £10 or £15 per month. £10 is an introductory rate, and that's a completely flat rate. There are obviously lower preferential rates depending on the individual, the scale of the number of units. For internet on phones specifically, the standard consumer rate is now £5 or £7.50 per month. And again, that would be variable depending on the particular situation. Those consumer rates, bear in mind, are based on usually being, in the case of a phone, with a voice contract. So the pricing will vary slightly, but hopefully that gives an indication. I think what's a challenge for us, but hopefully good news for everyone in the room, is that the UK is rated as one of the most competitive mobile markets in the world, and I'm sure everyone will still say they'd like it to be cheaper, but the data pricing in the UK has fallen dramatically over the last 18 months. When we first launched these services, it was around £30 per month, so we're already down to 10. So there's really healthy competition, which keeps me on my toes and hopefully gives a better deal for everyone in the long term.
Can you say a bit more about the Android software? And you mentioned two of the applications. Are there others that are being developed, and what do you imagine the rollout of that will be?
Okay, we are, the G1, which is the phone that I mentioned, the T-Mobile G1 with Google, launches in, as we announced today, on the 30th of this month. So it's pretty early days. What we know is a little bit about the launch Android market applications, of which I gave a couple of examples. The potential, as you might be aware, is pretty unlimited because that's an open market. There's no one controlling that like a retail store. So think of it more like eBay rather than Amazon. It's an open approach. Pretty much anyone can post up, and the different applications get rated by users. And if anyone wants to look, I'm happy to show them what the experience looks like. The applications on here at the moment are pretty broad. There's games on there, obviously. There are weather applications. Coming next year will be a version of a more enhanced version of the mapping software with GPS that actually lets you see a more three-dimensional view of exactly what's in front of you. I think I'm just trying. I can have a look actually to see what else is on my phone right now. See if there's anything else I think I can think of. I mean, it's early days, so they're really just developing. There's a barcode scanner on there. That's something quite different. So the barcode scanner enables you to go in to pick up a product, scan, literally just take a photo of the barcode, send it to the internet, checks the price of that product so you can compare it online. But equally, it could be you scanning the barcode of a book, and it could tell you more about that book and see user reviews, critiques of that book. So it really opens up the potential of being a more complete internet experience. I guess it's difficult to say at this stage because we're subject to the imagination of the people who are going to start putting together these applications as more Android phones appear.
Stuart Smith, the University of Manchester. I was the research team you mentioned.
Fantastic.
So
good to have you here.
One of the things that drove the research and the hairdressing training, which was awarded here at Handheld, which received an award at Handheld Learning, was the mobility of the experience. We wanted students to be able to interact away from campus at their own pace, in their own context. And we discovered some really great things like tutors and salon managers starting to actually communicate in a way that they haven't before. Now it's early days, who knows what that takes. One of the concerns that I have, though, with regards to the current state of the mobile development, and the iPhone adverts are a good example of this, is that they kind of give the impression that all the problems are solved and everything you can do on the desktop you can do on your small handheld device. And we see that with the promotion of things like Facebook, etc., via mobile device. I'm worried that we're actually going to miss out on the mobility of the experience, and particularly in education, because education traditionally is about coming into a classroom, sitting behind desks. And one of the exciting things about mobile technology is the liberation of that experience in education. And I'm worried that we focus on bringing desktop applications onto the mobile devices. We miss that chance. Could you just make some comments on that and what your views are?
Yeah, it's an interesting point because I think I've been working on areas around mobile web for about 4 or 5 years now, and when I was first involved, there was a lot of talk about how we had to make everything bespoke for mobile, and I think that actually equally constrained where we went, because if you tell everyone they've got to create some kind of special WAP version of everything, it doesn't create the scale and it never takes off, and we certainly saw that from our base, that whether it was consumers or in education or anywhere else, people just didn't use it. So I think it's great that people can now get some understanding that actually something close to particularly the internet that they know is available on handsets like the iPhone and the G1 and many more to come. So I think that's generally a positive thing. I think what's really exciting, and I touched on it, I guess, in terms of the international experience, is that for most people in the world, their first experience of the kind of online connectivity that we all recognise is going to be on a device like this in the future. So this is going to be the driver, not the PC. So actually that point about trying to drag the PC experience into the mobile kind of disappears. It becomes somewhat redundant. I think there is a danger in trying to pretend it's a PC. For me, it's not about different devices. It's essentially just about different screens and different physical experiences that happen to suit being in different places. So if all your stuff is online, actually all you're really deciding is what size screen suits me today. That's a kind of very simplistic view of it. But essentially, it's true. You know, if I need to do a lot of blogging online, then I probably still need to have a full-size keyboard with me, because that's the most comfortable way to do it. But if I just want to snap pictures and post up a blog, then that's what I do on the move. So I think it's about us all using a mix of different things. I don't think it's about wedging one necessarily into the other. But I think what we need to make sure is that what we're creating is flexible enough that it works successfully across everything, and be mindful that actually this might be the first port of call in the future. And I'm not just saying that because I work in the mobile industry. I just genuinely believe that's the way the world's going, that the small screen will lead and the bigger screen will be its kind of its second cousin, if you like.
That's interesting with the UN published a report recently saying that device is the one that could bridge the digital divide on a global level. So I think that your view is shared quite globally at the moment.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's really interesting to hear what you're saying, that might be the first port of call. So essentially you're painting a vision of merged experience in a lot of ways, etc., and things like that.
Yeah. And I think something important to say about this is that as an industry, we were very guilty in the past of trying to kind of lock people into a very restricted world with all kinds of, for good reasons, trying to create a good experience for customers, but actually kind of restraining things a bit. And as we've opened things up, the history always is you open things up, you drive innovation, you break down the barriers between different technologies, different systems, and I think that's when you see things really pushing scale, and that's when you get a bubble of things really suddenly leaping forward again, and that's what I think is going to happen in the next couple of years with this kind of open system.
Thanks, Richard.
Okay, thank you.